A dream bigger than poverty. The sun had not yet risen over the small town of Millbrook when 13-year-old Ethan Carter opened his eyes. The room was dark and cold. A thin blanket covered him, but it did little to protect him from the chilly morning air that slipped through the cracks in the wooden walls. Ethan sat up slowly and looked around the tiny room he shared with his mother. Their house was old and worn out. The paint had peeled off years ago, and the roof leaked whenever it rained. They owned only a few pieces of furniture, most of which had been donated by kind neighbors. Despite all of this, Ethan smiled. He had learned something important at a young age. Being poor did not mean being unhappy. Quietly, he climbed out of bed and put on his faded clothes. His shoes were old and patched with tape, but they still worked. His mother, Sarah, was already awake. "Good morning, Ethan," she said softly. "Morning, Mom." Sarah worked long hours cleaning houses in nearby neighborhoods. The work was exhausting, but she never complained. Ethan admired her strength. On the small tables at breakfast, 2 pieces of toast and a cup of water. It wasn't much, but it was all they had. Sarah pushed one piece toward Ethan. "You need energy for school." "What about you?" "I already ate." Ethan knew she was lying. Many times his mother skipped meals so he could eat. Without saying anything, he broke his toast in half and handed part of it back to her. Sarah smiled. "You're a good boy," Ethan shrugged. "I learned from the best." They both laughed. For a moment, their problems seemed far away. After breakfast, Ethan grabbed his backpack and started the 3-mile walk to school. The streets were quiet. Birds chirped from the trees as the sky slowly turned orange. Most students arrived in cars or on buses. Ethan walked. Every day, rain or shine, cold or hot, it didn't matter. He kept moving. As he approached the school gates, he noticed several boys standing near the entrance. Among them was Jake Thompson. Jake came from one of the richest families in town. He wore expensive clothes and always seemed to have the newest gadgets. Unfortunately, he also enjoyed making fun of others, especially Ethan. "Hey, look who's here," Jake called out. His friends laughed. "The charity case." Ethan kept walking. Jake stepped in front of him. "Did your mom buy those shoes from a museum?" More laughter. Ethan looked down at his worn shoes, then he looked back up. "They still get me where I need to go." Jake's smile disappeared. He had expected Ethan to get angry. Instead, Ethan simply walked away. One of the boys shook his head. "Why do you even bother with him?" Jake didn't answer. Deep down, he hated something about Ethan. No matter how much he was teased, he never gave up. In class, Ethan sat near the window. His favorite subject was science. While many students stared at the clock waiting for the day to end, Ethan listened carefully to every lesson. Knowledge fascinated him. The idea that people could invent machines, build cities, and explore space amazed him. One day, he wanted to do something important too. As the teacher explained a difficult problem, she suddenly stopped. "Can anyone solve this?" The room became silent. Several students looked away. Slowly, Ethan raised his hand. "Go ahead, Ethan." He walked to the board and solved the problem. The teacher smiled. "Excellent work." The class applauded. Even some students who rarely spoke to him seemed impressed. Jake frowned. That afternoon, after school ended, Ethan didn't go straight home. Instead, he visited the town library. The library was one of his favorite places in the world. It was warm, quiet, and filled with endless possibilities. Books allowed him to travel without spending money. He could explore ancient civilizations, learn about inventions, and read stories about people who overcame impossible challenges. Mrs. Wilson, the librarian, greeted him with a smile. "Back again?" "You know me?" She laughed. "I certainly do." Over the years, she had watched Ethan read hundreds of books. Sometimes she wondered if he had read every book in the building. What are you studying today? She asked. Engineering. Mrs. Wilson raised an eyebrow. Big dreams. Ethan nodded. Very big. Good. She pointed toward a shelf. The world belongs to dreamers who work hard. Ethan never forgot those words. As evening approached, Ethan finally headed home. When he arrived, he found his mother sitting at the kitchen table. She looked worried. Very worried. Immediately, Ethan knew something was wrong. What happened? Sarah hesitated. Then she handed him an envelope. It was a bill, several bills actually, electricity, water, rent, all overdue. Ethan's heart sank. How much do we owe? Sarah lowered her eyes. Too much. The room fell silent. For the first time in a long while, fear entered Ethan's mind. What if they lost the house? Where would they go? What would happen? Sarah forced a smile. We'll figure something out. But Ethan could hear the uncertainty in her voice. That night he lay awake staring at the ceiling. Sleep refused to come. His thoughts raced. There had to be a way to help. There had to be. Suddenly an idea appeared. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. Tomorrow he would find work. The next afternoon, Ethan visited nearly every business in town. A grocery store, a mechanic shop, a bakery, a hardware store. Most people said the same thing. Sorry, son. We're not hiring. Maybe next year. Hours passed. The sun began to set. Ethan felt discouraged. Then he noticed an old man struggling to carry boxes outside a small bookstore. Without thinking, Ethan ran over. Need help? The man looked surprised. You offering? Sure. Together they carried the heavy boxes. When they finished, the old man smiled. Strong kid. Ethan laughed. Not really. The man introduced himself. My name is Mr. Harrison. Ethan. Mr. Harrison studied him carefully. You looking for work? Ethan's eyes widened. Actually, yes. Interesting. Mr. Harrison rubbed his chin. I could use some help after school. Ethan could hardly believe it. Really? Really? A huge smile spread across Ethan's face. When can I start? Tomorrow. For the first time all day, hope returned. Over the next several weeks, Ethan worked every afternoon at the bookstore. The pay wasn't much, but it helped. He organized shelves, cleaned floors, stacked books, helped customers. Most importantly, he learned. Mr. Harrison loved sharing wisdom. One evening, while closing the shop, he asked Ethan a question. What do you want from life? Ethan thought carefully. I want my mom to stop worrying. Mr. Harrison nodded. And after that? I want to build things. What kind of things? Things that help people. The old man smiled. Good answer. Then he pointed toward the rows of books. Every great achievement begins as a dream. Ethan listened carefully. Most people stop dreaming because life becomes difficult, Mr. Harrison continued. But the people who change the world are the ones who keep going. Those words stayed with Ethan. Months passed. Winter arrived. Snow covered the streets. Business slowed. Money remained tight. Yet Ethan continued working and studying. His grades improved. Teachers praised him. Even students who once ignored him began respecting him. Everything seemed to be moving in the right direction. Then one terrible day changed everything. Ethan returned home to find an ambulance parked outside his house. His heart nearly stopped. Neighbors stood nearby whispering. Fear rushed through him. He dropped his backpack and ran. Mom, a paramedic stepped forward. Are you Ethan? Yes. It's your mother. Ethan's stomach twisted. What happened? She collapsed while working. The words hit him like a truck. Collapsed, working, hospital. His mind struggled to process them. Is she okay? The paramedic hesitated. That hesitation terrified him. She's alive. the paramedic said, but she needs medical treatment. Ethan felt the world spinning around him. Everything suddenly seemed uncertain. The bills, the house, school, work, his mother's health, all of it. For years, Sarah had carried every burden alone. Now she couldn't. And Ethan knew something important. Life was about to become much harder. But deep inside, another feeling began to grow: determination. No matter what happened next, he would fight for their future. He would protect his mother. He would continue chasing his dream. And he would prove that poverty could not defeat someone who refused to quit. To be continued in part 2.